This is awkward.
Mm-hmm.
Are you going to introduce?
Not while you're fucking playing on your phone.
Oh, yeah.
What we were waiting
Oh,
for.
okay. Can I talk about that in the class? Pet peeve, freaking sons of bitches on their phones.
Hell yeah. All right, so this is Armed with Knowledge podcast. This is our second episode, and today we're blessed to have our good friend Frank here with us today. This is Frank Oberg.
Also known as Frank the Tank.
Frank the Tank.
That's me.
So Frank's pretty well known around the gun community. A lot of people know Frank. Frank's known for being one of the nicest guys in the world, man. He's definitely somebody to have on your side. He's been an NRA instructor for almost 16 years, and in that almost 11 years now, he's been a CCW instructor. Is that right?
Yeah, pretty much solely that.
Yeah, and I mean, to talk about being friendly, like Frank does renewals. If somebody's got their CCW originally from Frank, he does the renewals free of charge, just to keep that going for people, man. Because he's like us, he believes in people maintaining their rights. And you had some things that you want to discuss with us about CCW today, right?
Yeah, I somebody considering getting a CCW or they've already had one. Mm-hmm. The training is so important. I can't put enough emphasis on it. And lately, we've had this scourge of people buying guns left and right, and
right.
They think they got to have a CCW all of a sudden. That's going to make them safe, and they don't even take training into consideration.
Right.
And so, that's what I'd like to talk about is folks getting training prior to their CCW class.
Yeah, and not showing up with a brand new gun they never shot before.
Well, I'm literally cutting tags off of guns coming into the class right now. We're giving their very first lessons.
Right.
And, I think a little bit of training ahead of time and definitely training afterwards. They don't take that in consideration. It's some folks come in. And I try to cultivate that, and I've incorporated into my class the importance of training. I always have, but anymore it seems like you got to put the fear of God into them. You miss a bad guy, you hit a good guy, it's over with for you.
Yeah,
and it's just the training prior. Back when you guys were doing your pistol classes.
Yeah.
And the customers you'd send me from your pistol class, just turn them loose on the range. I do the qualification. They had the safety standards in place. They had the range etiquette. The range etiquette was perfect with you guys.
Right.
And
good, man.
Yeah, it was great. Made me and Jeffrey's job. Jeffrey's the guy that helps me out on the range when I'm
right
for safety reasons and such. And so, but that. Those folks came in with the right mindset.
Well, and that's what, they came to us with the right mindset. The fact that they came to us in the beginning.
Exactly.
Especially ones that, have said that they've been around guns. They've had some experience with guns, but they still wanted to take this basic handgun course with us before going to get their CCW. And I mean, that's the mindset that I think everybody in this room, we would love to see more of. Especially with brand new gun owners, not just the ones that I've been around guns, I've had guns. That's important, and those are the people that don't think it's important, but they're just as important. But when somebody buys a brand new gun and then goes to get their CCW without any idea of what they're doing on the range, they've never even been on a range before.
Oh yeah, I get that a lot, and
right.
I also get the folks that shoot out in the desert. And then they've never been on the range before, and
right.
And I got to break a bunch of bad habits.
Okay.
And from there, but
that makes sense. For sure.
And the training afterwards, it's CCW classes. You're learning about the laws pertaining to carrying a weapon, do's and don'ts, legal ramifications, things like that.
Right.
But that doesn't make you qualified to carry a gun.
No.
So it's teaching, it's what you're learning afterwards, and it's continuing education, including us. We're all avid shooters. I'm still wanting to learn things, so
absolutely
keep furthering the education. Yep.
Every day is a new opportunity in the gun industry. You can never know enough, and even when you think you do, this industry is evolving.
That's right, man.
Constantly.
Like you got to think about the stuff that that we learn even just like with AR training, like running our ARs in the military, there was a certain way of holding it and going into a room, which now, when I look back on how we used to do it then, I'm like, God, I can't believe we thought we were at the peak of, clearing rooms back then, man.
Yeah, when you think about it, the way that we were trained back then and then you look at the way that we're trained now, we were doing it all wrong.
Well, but we were doing it right for the time.
For the time, yeah.
Yeah,
right,
like you're saying, like it was effective for the time we thought. But it's continually progressing. I mean, if you think about how, decades ago, there's no way we could get any further than this. We're at the peak of where we're at. And now look at us, man. Like there's so many different ways to do things. I guess that kind of covers also stuff that we've talked about before too, is why just getting training in one area isn't as effective as getting training and continuing that training with other trainers, because everybody has a different idea on what to do and how to do it.
Yeah, and they're not always necessarily bad ideas.
Right.
They're new ideas.
And that's what works for that trainer. Yeah. And that's what we would always say in our classes, in our beginner handgun classes. I think that's even what we started out with was, hey, look, we're going to have most of the stuff that we're covering here is going to be facts. But when it's not facts, we'll let you know. Like, this is what works for us, but this isn't the dead set way of doing things. And when people are looking to get training, now that we don't do it anymore, one of the pieces of advice that I give everybody is, if you go to a trainer that says that there's only one way to do anything, you got to walk out.
Wrong.
Leave that guy alone.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
Because we have a certain way that we do things that works great for us. But that's even right now. A few months from now, I might even learn a new technique myself that I would be teaching somebody that would work way better for me.
Absolutely.
Exactly. And our environment changes, for the CCW holder. We got civil unrest now.
Right.
And, I've have students text me, Frank, I'm going to go down to this protest. Should I bring my gun? Where are you going to go somewhere that's potentially violent with a gun?
Right.
Why are you bringing the gun? To protect myself. If you think there's going to be problems there, don't go in the first place.
Right. Yeah.
And it's the mindset. But other circumstances, it's you're going to go down on the strip. I carry a gun, but not to a protest.
Right.
Yeah. No. At that point, if someone's calling you and they're saying, "Hey, I'm thinking about going to this protest. I want to have a gun with me," you're already wrong.
Yeah. Exactly.
You're inviting trouble at that point. And you're not playing that what if game correctly. You're going down there and you're like, okay, well,
that's right.
Yeah, if stuff starts popping off, I'm going to be ready. No, you're not. You're going to get rolled up, and you're going to go away for a long time.
Frank, I've heard you tell people I don't know if I got the words right, but I've heard you tell people if you wouldn't go somewhere or do something without a gun, then don't do it with a gun.
Yeah. I treat every situation as if you didn't have a gun.
Right.
Yes, that's the way I live my life. And, if I see a potentially bad situation, the main thing is I'm going to walk away from it or drive away from it. But if I can't, there's other options. There are always other options. And if I run out of those options, I'll be grateful I had my gun. But usually those other options will work.
As Livio says all the time, you need to be the hardest person to get in a fight with if you have your firearm on you.
Oh yeah, you can't make me mad.
That's the mindset that we try to keep with carrying a gun.
Oh, we have to.
Yeah. No, absolutely. It's one surefire way to keep you humble. I mean, if you're okay with following the law, it's a great way to keep yourself humble.
If you're doing it the right way, because there's the other end of the spectrum where it's all ego and everybody wants to open carry and flaunt their shit.
Well, and see, that's where, I guess we can do a whole podcast on the difference between open carry and conceal carry. And I think we probably should cover that one of these times. Talking about right now, we're talking about mindset. Like you said, like she said, it's like to be the hardest person to get into a fight. Like, I feel like if I have a gun on me, then I'm going to do everything I can to leave whatever situation is escalating. Like I've said this before, even if somebody shoves me, if I have a way out, I'm going to try to leave. I'm going to try to walk away from it because it's not worth escalating to the point, because it's not oh, somebody got shot because they shoved you. No, it slowly escalated to that point. It could escalate to that level. And if you're the one carrying a gun, that's the mindset you should have, is to avoid any of that, especially if it's something that's none of your business.
Yeah. Now, over the years, and it does my heart good, I'll have a student tell me, they've actually calmed down. They've keeping a gun on them it curbs their temperament
Awesome.
and how they treat other people.
And
that's the perfect student right there.
And it is. The problem is there's a lot of the opposite going on out there. And Frank, you and I have talked about this before. There was that incident in Florida that they let that guy go because they called it a stand your ground incident. But from what you could see on the recordings and then on the video, there was a father that got shot in front of his kids.
Yeah.
Because the guy is carrying a gun, and he went up to harass some people for being parked in a handicap spot. And when that turned into an argument, he got shoved and pulled a gun and shot the guy that shoved him. But it goes deeper than that, man, because watching the video, so this family pulls up in a car. The guy gets out with one of the kids and walks in the store. This guy with the gun, well, you don't know he has a gun yet, walks over across the whole place, across from where the gas pumps were, I'm assuming, all the way over to this car, and starts ripping this lady, ripping her ass about how she's parked in a handicap spot with people in the car. It's not like they got out and left. So that she gets out and is arguing with them. This guy must have heard it. So this guy comes outside and sees some other guy in his old lady's face screaming at her. And his first response was to go over there and shove this guy and get him out of her face. And he did. So the guy fell down on his back. And he didn't pursue him any more than that. He shoved the guy fell down, and he stood there. He might have took a step towards him and told him to fuck off, I don't know. But the guy on the ground, no longer being assaulted, pulls out his gun, and when the guy that shoved him tried to turn away from him and walk away, the guy lit him up.
Yeah, he was retreating when the guy pulled the trigger.
He was turning around and trying to walk away from the guy, and the guy shot him. That guy went in the store and died with his kid. His kid was right there with him when he's dying. And the cops let him go because they called it a stand your ground.
It's absolutely not standing your ground.
It's not, absolutely not.
No.
And I think the first key to solving that issue was the fact that guy went over there
in the first place.
Yeah, while he was carrying a gun. First of all, going over there messing with somebody about a handicap spot. I don't know why the hell somebody thinks that's worth starting a fight over anyway. But the fact that you're carrying a gun, leave it alone.
Yeah.
You should have never went over there. Now, we have some friends who are police officers, and when that incident happened, they had made contact with some of the police officers in that area. And without being able to resource where the information came from, I just got to say, to me, it was a reliable source that told me this guy. It wasn't the first time that he harassed somebody over that parking spot. Also, he had been confronted by police prior to this because of a road rage incident with teenagers that he had pulled a gun on prior to this.
I'd heard about that.
So the more that you hear about this person, the more it sounds like he wouldn't have done any of these things if he wasn't carrying a gun.
Right.
Yeah.
The fact that this guy was carrying a gun is probably the only reason he walked over and started shit with his family in the first place. And instead of having the mindset of views, that's complete opposite of a gun owner's mentality. If you're carrying a gun, any of those incidences should be the hardest thing for you to be involved in.
And not to that could bring it to a whole different blog idea also, but that doesn't represent us as gun owners.
Absolutely.
But the world, the media is what plays us to the world, and the folks that don't understand or know gun owners such as us, we're getting labeled as him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he's an embarrassment.
Well, and he's the reason there are certifications. And
he's the reason why there's laws and there's why you pay for a permit.
Push for gun control, yep.
Yeah.
Yep. So that's from and this isn't everybody's opinion. This is just my opinion. about CCW, I personally don't like the idea that we have to get a permit in order to carry a conceal. To me, I believe that is on each individual person's responsibility to be trained well enough to be doing that, to be carrying concealed. Unfortunately, like we said, there's all these other people that are doing the wrong things, and it's being made out to be a representation of the rest of the gun owners. So there has to be some intrusion and an impediment in what we are allowed to do. My biggest problem, I guess, is, and this is where it's hard to balance out the way that I feel about this. I don't like having to get a certificate to be allowed to carry a gun. I don't think it's right. But the fact that we do have that certification, I think that certification should be a lot more stringent in what it takes to get that certification. And here's why. Because now that you're saying this is a government certification, now that person thinks they're squared away and that's all they need in order to carry a gun. They don't know shit.
Yeah, you hear the way people say it.
But now they have a certificate. They have an ID with their picture on it that the government is telling them, that the county is saying, hey, this person is certified to carry a gun. Hey, I'm certified now. But all they had to do was shoot a target at a very short distance and learn about the laws.
Yeah, I agree. I remember when I did my first CCW back in '98, the qualification was 3, 7, and 15 yards. You were timed. There's a reload in between, left and right-handed shooting. It was a great.
Yeah, no, that's squared away.
Yeah.
Now it's what, 3, 5, 7?
3, 5, and 7, and
right.
30 shots, and you got to stay within the 7 ring on a B-27 target. You know,
and you don't even have to qualify with the pistol that you're carrying.
And see that
your
part.
instructor can bring a 22, qualify you with that.
Yeah, and see that, and that's where we go again with the doing the right thing. You know what I mean? Leaving it up to people to do the right thing, and that's where we took away the certified to be. You had to have it check marked on there if you did it with a revolver and a semi. We used to have to do that, and that went away, which I'm okay with. But what comes with that is now you have the leeway where you hear about instructors having a 22 for everybody to shoot and use a 22 on whatever. And so they're skirting around it. The problem is if, like I said, and not to I guess beat the same thing over and over, but now I feel like we should be left alone about having a certification about being allowed to carry. That's how I feel personally. But the fact that we do have a certification, there should be more to it than that. Yeah,
there should. And as us instructors, ethically, I've had people miss the target at 15 feet. And I mean, the whole target,
right.
Which is what?
No paper?
Yeah, no paper. What was that thing about 2.5 feet across? They're missing that at 15 feet. And then some understand, okay, I wasn't able to do this. And some of these people actually think that they can shoot before they even get on there. I'll talk to them on the phone when they schedule.
Right.
How's your shooting experience? Oh, I've been shooting since I was 4, blah, blah, blah. My dad taught me how to shoot, blah, blah.
Right.
They come in there and,
dude, I've been playing Call of Duty since it was on PS2. All right.
And I'm giving them lessons. All right. We're gonna teach you how to shoot now. And but as a matter of fact, over the past 4 months, I've probably failed more people on the range than I have in the past 10 years.
Really?
Because I can't. It's not acceptable. I can't turn you loose with a gun.
Right.
I'm not.
You can't put your name on certifying somebody to be carrying a loaded handgun around in public.
Yeah, I'm not responsible for what they do after they leave that classroom.
Right,
but morally, I am. I don't want to read about any of my students in the paper or on the news. And so far, over the past 10 years, I've only had 2, and they were successful. And they were successful because of their training. Two of my students have defended themselves and taken a life, and both times both guys trained, and that's why they're alive.
I believe that too, yeah.
So, one of them, as a matter of fact, had been stabbed several times prior to him using his gun. The other one, all 10 shots, 10 hits, and both times they saved themselves. And one time, he saved himself and his girlfriend
in the heat of the moment.
Moment, yeah.
Yeah, so
but their training did that. The standard guy just carrying a gun, and in both those situations might have been dead.
Yeah.
Yeah, because that one time of training, that one class that you take, and then you didn't take that to the range and continue that to where, like we talked about it in our first episode, if you haven't done it enough times where your subconscious does it for you, in the heat of the moment, when you and your girl are being attacked, that training doesn't come into play because your subconscious doesn't know what to do. Your conscious mind is trying to do it for you in a panic. Yep. And if those, like you said, I agree with you 100%. Especially the guy that had already been made contact, was being stabbed.
Oh yeah,
and then
once
still
in the back,
able to.
Once in the back, 6 times in the skull.
Yeah.
And when he pulled the trigger, he had blood in his eyes. It was his own blood.
Yeah.
And a concussion. And his training, his muscle memory took over.
That's what. Yeah, exactly right. 100%. There's no way he consciously went through the motions and did that.
Case in point for carrying chamber too.
That's true.
It's one of part of my classes. I talk about carrying chambered.
Yeah.
And a lot of I'd say good 60% when I ask the class who's going to carry chambered, who's not. They go on about 60% don't want to carry chambered. And I'm like, well, why not? Well, I don't want to shoot myself with my own gun. Well, training could fix that.
That's absolutely. And what I see in that too is I've known a lot of people that have said that in the beginning of their carrying experience.
The first 6 months. I'd say 6 weeks. It didn't take me that long to get comfortable with it. I didn't carry chambered because I didn't know enough.
Right. And there's just not that comfort there. And it's like we talked about last time, we've been there with people and we've seen people who were terrified of guns. And now they've told us that you remember that I could never imagine carrying a gun in public, but now I feel naked without it. It's so comfortable now. You understand it, the inner workings of how it does what it does and why it does what it does. And you build that comfort with it where it's an extension of yourself. Then you know that you're not going to put any holes in yourself with this thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, that goes back to what I was saying last week too about playing with your gun. When you get it, you have to build that comfort level with it. Most people that don't carry with one chambered, they don't trust it. They don't know anything about it. They think it's going to go off. Yeah. What they don't realize is, especially with semi-auto pistols, there's multiple internal safeties. Now, I won't sugarcoat it. When I first started carrying appendix, I didn't carry one chambered.
Yeah, but it's the same thing
for obvious reasons. But if I was carrying on my hip, I would. Like it was just building that comfort level. And
That's right.
Just knowing, okay.
And what comes with that, I mean, you got to think about when you hear people trying to holster something and shooting themselves, especially with a Glock, right? We know, everybody sitting in this room knows that a Glock comes with a 5-pound trigger. And this is stuff that sometimes we've talked about it in class, sometimes we haven't. But when we talk about holsters with people, especially like an outside the waistband, mine drops into it and clicks in. Mine settles itself in from the weight of the gun itself, just kind of settles in. And if it doesn't, I look at it to see why it didn't. And it's the same with appendix. If I know how much little bit of a pound that I push on it to get it to set in to where that holster's holding it correctly, if I do that and it doesn't go in, I take it out and I try to look at what's stopping this from going in. But when we've seen videos or heard stories about people that have had accidental discharges by what was it? I think it was a police officer in his car. He had on his jacket, he had the little pull string on the side, and it got caught in the trigger, and he pushed down in there.
You actually see that more. That's more common than what you would think. I've seen probably 3 or 4 videos of sheriffs, cops in gun stores.
I know that guy had the windbreaker and he had the drawstring fall in there.
Yep.
He puts his gun in. It didn't go off when he put it in. But
he started walking, right?
No, he actually he felt like he accidentally tucked in his. He felt like he tucked in his windbreaker.
Okay.
Pulls up on that string, pulled the trigger, and
ran
him down his leg. Yeah.
He was at like center of the screen and kind of came around the left, right? I think I saw that video.
There's a bunch of them.
Yeah, maybe.
There's a bunch of them.
Yeah, because that's like the thing is I've put whichever gun we can lay out here in whatever holster I'm using outside the waistband, it doesn't matter. I know what that gun feels like when it's settled and where it's at, which is the same as what whether it's a handgun or a rifle, when that last round, you've run that gun enough, you can tell when that last round bolt catch engages, and you can feel it and you can hear it. It's that sound. If you don't know that yet, you haven't been on that rifle enough. That's one clear way to say, if you can't tell when that gun's empty without hearing it and knowing it, like if that isn't enough for you, then you need more time on that gun.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, exactly. And the repetition, like Trevor said, play with the gun.
Yeah.
Responsibly play with the gun.
Make sure it's unloaded.
I know what you meant by that. Yeah, but that's a great way to get to know that gun. That gun just needs to be an extension of you.
That's right.
In my class, I take your finger and point it at something. We were born with these. We've had these our whole lives. And this damn thing was still here when I got up this morning. And if I put sights on this knuckle here and then the very tip of my sight, and I put it in anything in this room, I'm aiming right at it.
Yeah, every time.
And that gun needs to be that same thing.
Yeah, it's called point of aim.
Yep.
Literally, yeah.
Yeah, point of aim. It's called point of aim. So I have it with one gun more than the others because it's one that I've spent a lot more time with.
Yep.
Where I have that point of aim, where I don't have to take the time to line up my sights. I know when my hand is up at one certain point, at what I'm looking at, it's on target, and that just comes from that repetitive. I don't actually have to line everything up. And with the others, I have it somewhat. I mean, there's different levels of it, and it just comes from that repetition.
Yep.
And where the importance of that is like I said before, in the heat of the moment. Because in the heat of the moment, you're not thinking about lining up those sights anymore. If you have point of aim, your brain knows what your point of aim is. You don't have to do all the extra work anymore.
Yep.
Even if it's not for self-defense, like when we were in competitions.
Yeah.
You really have to know your point of aim to get that time down. Really.
Yeah, especially
come right up to you.
Especially with your follow-up shots. So if you have to put 2 shots in the alpha, I mean, to get both those in there, you have to know where your follow-up shot is and that timing to know when you're back on. And that comes with, because if you just know that first one, sure, that's great. But that follow-up shot, if you don't know that rhythm, and of course that goes in again to what we talked about last episode, it was know the ammo that you're running.
Yep.
Yeah, and that brings us to another subject: malfunction drills.
That's 100% right.
You got to know those, and in order to experience malfunctions, you got to shoot.
Yeah,
you'll get them.
Yeah,
I remember the first class I was with you guys. She did a stovepipe. She cleared a stovepipe in the class.
Yeah.
Do you remember that? She cleared off the top of that stovepipe, off the top of that thing, and that round was probably doing 300-400 feet per second across the like, how the hell did that girl? I was like,
well, and then she has to tell. Then she has to tell the student, like, hey, that's something that you don't do that next time. Like, that's not something you do because she has it down to where she can do it without flagging her hand.
No, she did it perfect, and she came back and raked that slide. And
guys, thank you.
Well, oh my God.
Yeah.
That's from running on the range with customers constantly. 10-hour days, sweating my ass off. And if somebody had a malfunction, I'd quickly clear it and keep going because I didn't have time.
I was like, I looked over at Livio. I go, you should marry that girl. That was like, man, that was the best I've seen yet.
Oh, thank you.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, you've seen this girl run machine guns, man?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
You just flash.
I almost forgot that I did that for a living.
Yeah.
It's been quite a while.
It has been a long time, man. Running machine guns.
No, you watch a lot of these videos, the gun bunnies and stuff, and they got a machine gun and that thing's dancing them around. You could total control of that gun. Better than most men.
Absolutely, 100%. And a lot of our shooter buddies even say the same thing, man.
Yeah. But when I first started shooting, it would fucking knock me back real far. It's
Absolutely.
All the training that Livio's put me into. Every time I have that gun in my hands, I think about the steps on how it's not going to kick my ass. How do I not want to not look like a fool? How am I going to... I definitely go over steps in my head every time I get a fucking firearm in my hands.
Yeah.
I still get anxious. It doesn't matter how long you've been in it.
Especially when there's a camera on you.
Right?
Yeah.
Right.
That would make the difference.
100%.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
No.
Yeah, man. Frank, man, I think we covered a lot of great stuff with you.
Yeah, we did. I'm a little more relaxed now that we first started. I started out with this like, I've never done this before. This is strange.
If it makes you feel any better, we haven't done this before.
But
we've done it once.
I'm with friends, people I've shot with, people I've trained with.
Yeah.
I see Trevor on a regular basis.
Yeah.
And this the thing, the range, Trevor will come in there and burn some rounds and before his shift or something once in a while, and I love seeing the guys that actually work at the range shooting.
Yeah, absolutely.
Some of those guys don't.
Right.
And it's like, you got this opportunity.
Right.
Yeah,
it's right here.
There's a lot of guys that don't.
But some of those guys come in there and they'll just before their shift, before they clock in, go burn a box up or a few mags or something. And,
that's great.
And those are the ones you see, you look over at their target like, wow. Yep.
Yeah, I'm keeping it
He's on my side.
Yeah, exactly.
And
who am I going to look
and
for?
And I think that has a lot to, I think that has a lot to do with, it's there. Like people feel like it's always going to be there. I think it comes along with the same reason, like working at machine gun ranges, you rarely saw locals come into the machine gun ranges to shoot. And I think it's the same thing. Like it's always going to be, it's not that appealing when you know it's there, always. It's always going to be there. And I think with some of those guys, until it's not there for them to do it, and they don't realize how great it is to be there with that opportunity every day.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And just make themselves better and better and as they go. And
Yeah.
John Davis, that guy will come in and he'll try a different drill every once in a while. Show me what he's doing. I'm like, man, I got to try that next time. So you can feed off of each other, And
Absolutely.
I've learned so much stuff from that guy.
Yeah.
Just different drills, and he's an amazing shot too.
And that's huge with kind of what we talked about in the beginning was everybody having different, learning from different people instead of sticking with just one idea, one thing. And without putting the wrong idea out there, there's things that you can learn on even on YouTube channels, and not just any YouTube channel. You definitely want to have somebody that's got some good credit. I guess I don't want to sit here and start naming them off, but
and we shouldn't until they pay us.
but you
Just kidding.
you can still pick up different ideas, things to try, and just because it works great for that person doesn't mean it's going to work great for you, man. Everybody's different.
Yeah, no, and that's why you should watch multiples. Like there's a lot of different firearm YouTube channels out there that I watch, and yeah, you have to do it. You have to take a little bit of this one, a little bit of that one, a little bit of that one. You find what works for you, and you find what makes sense to you. If they're explaining something and you're not getting it, that's okay.
Absolutely.
Find another channel.
Absolutely.
Right.
And maybe this person can explain it a little bit better. And
whatever you'll find things that'll raise your eyebrow. Mm-hmm. Let me try that and give it a try. I mean, even with at home stuff, like what you're talking about, just messing with stuff at home. Some of the most important stuff to do is just doing dry stuff in the living room.
Oh man,
yep. Especially
that's
right
become
now.
A big part of my class is dry fire because ammunition is hard to find nowadays. People
You
complain,
see a
well,
lot.
how am I going to train if I can't buy ammo? You can dry fire.
Absolutely, man.
You're doing everything.
It's definitely underrated.
Yeah, you don't have the distraction and noise and recoil, but you're doing just about everything you can with an empty gun in the comfort of your home.
Absolutely. And I'll tell you what, dry fire is one of the best ways to learn how to clear your malfunctions.
Oh, yeah.
100%.
Get a bunch of snap caps and go to it. Or even old empty shell casings, you can practice with those.
Yep. Learn how to clear that stovepipe real quick.
I'll do classes on
I still
just
haven't done
that.
it.
Just flick the bugger off. Just flick it off.
Awesome, man. Well, man, this has been fun.
Yeah.
It was great having you on here, Frank.
Oh, thank you for having me. You
Man,
ever
we
want me
really
over
appreciate
again?
it.
Especially since Brighton made dinner before. I'll definitely
And
I'll
dessert.
come sit in any one of your blogs if you want.
Hey, man, I'll cook you a meal and have you podcast any day.
Hell yeah.
Cool,
Any
man.
day.
Yeah, man, love to have you here, brother.
Yeah.
And if anyone here is in the Vegas area, it's recoiljunkie@yahoo.com.
Yep, that's me.
Yep.
Yeah.
Get you squared away, get you that CCW, and just remember, it's not the beginning of your training. It shouldn't be the end of your training. And,
It's just a stepping stone.
Yeah, absolutely.
What's your Instagram tag?
It's just my name, Frank Oberg. I haven't got creative yet.
Okay.
We'll put it somewhere around
that's
here.
that's technology.
Yeah, we'll tag you.
It's
Put that out there.
my business license is Frank Oberg. I'm not a very original person when it comes to that kind of stuff.
Well, I guess you don't need to be, brother.
Yeah.
Your name says it all. It says it all, dude.
Frank the Tank, I think, is a pretty cool nickname, though.
I agree.
I didn't get that because I hang out with all my friends are military friends. It's because I was a little skinny guy working out at the gym, and some Samoans nicknamed me that.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that's
funny.
That's where it came from.
That is a cool.
That's ironic.
Yeah.
Man.
I did not know that.
I didn't either.
Well, no, there's a lot you don't know about this man.
Oh.
That'd be for a different blog.
Yeah.
All right. Well, for everybody that tuned in, thank you so much. And we look forward to doing another one next week.
Yeah, looking forward to it.
Absolutely. Thank you, everybody.